Hey guys, on today's video I wanted to start off by saying I apologize for the lack of videos for the past week. Let's just say the connection and Wi-Fi in India isn't always the greatest. So there was a space. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about dealing with emotional baggage. Now, emotional baggage can come into our lives at any point. We're not immune from it when we get sober. We're not immune from it when we're drinking. We're not immune from it if we're using drugs. It's there at all times. It's just a matter of how we deal with it, if we recognize it, and what to do with it when and if we recognize it. So I'm approaching 3 years, 6 months sobriety. And I'm at a point in my life where there's a lot of shit going on. I'm in India. I'm in a country that's filled with men that often treat women differently. And I tend to be more people-pleasing and naive, so I try to see the best in people, much to my detriment a lot. And then I have a divorce happening. I have the mind games that come with getting divorced. I am a mom, and I'm sober. And those are just some of the things. Then I have fistula treatment. I have being away from my kids. I have mom guilt. I have mom shame. I have the shame of all the shit that I did when I was sober. There's like a lot of emotional baggage. How the fuck am I still sober? I ask that to myself almost every single day. It's like, okay, how am I sober? Because there's so much shit going on and it's constant. So how do I deal with it and not let it put me so far down that I just want to drink? And so that's what today's topic is going to be about, emotional baggage. So I've mentioned a lot of my baggage that I have, and it's all tied to my emotions, right? So 1 minute I can be happy, and then I can see a photo of my kids who are with their grandparents in Washington, and they look so happy and excited, and they're like sending me little videos saying, "Hi, Mom," and all this stuff, and they're so cute and adorable, and then I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm the world's worst mom because here I am in a different country, thousands and thousands of miles away, taking care of myself, but I'm not there for them. I'm not in their lives right this minute because I'm trying to get healthy for myself. There's a saying that I heard all the time when I first got sober, and it's, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on your kids. And it's actually, they say it on airplanes as well. And for the longest time, I was always like, I will never be that person. Of course, I'm going to put the oxygen mask on my kids before I put it on myself because they're the most important thing to me in this world. And I know a lot of parents have that same thought. We want to be the world's greatest parents, and we want to take care of our kids no matter what, even if that's at the cost to our own selves and our own mental stabilities. But newsflash, if we don't put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, we may not be alive to put it on our kids, even regardless. Our kids need us to be healthy in order for them to be healthy, in order for us to be healthy, in order for everybody to be healthy. You want to be that great parent, you have to take care of yourself. So dealing with emotional baggage and dealing with the stuff going on in your life, whether it's health, mental health, just occurrences happening every day, too much stress, working too much, doing too much stuff, putting too much weight on your shoulders. Like, you can't be healthy if you're constantly weighed down by all of these things. So how do I deal with mom guilt? And I'm starting with mom guilt, parent guilt, because it's so close to my heart and it's so relevant right now where I'm at in my life. And it's very simple. My kids deserve the best mom that they can possibly have. I haven't always been the greatest mom. As a matter of fact, I've been one of the shittiest moms, and that's a living guilt that I take away with living amends. So for me to be the world's greatest mom, I have to put that oxygen mask on myself. So that means I need to be healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, every way I have to be healthy. So part of getting physically healthy was traveling to India to have a treatment that has a 90% success rate versus the Western medicine treatments that have 50 to 70% success rate, and you're like butchered multiple times. And then physically being able to rest and heal and go through the treatments, which is a series of events. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes dedication. And it means you have to be willing to be away from your kids. At least for me, because I came from California to India. And then on top of the physical healing, you have to add in the mental. So now I have this mental toll going on of not only am I physically ill, I'm also mentally ill because I'm leaving behind my kids. What are they going to think of me? Are they thinking I'm abandoning them? They're missing me. They feel like I'm missing out on their lives. But are they really thinking these things? Or am I thinking that they're thinking these things because I'm a little bit insane in my head because that's the way my mind works? Because I am an overthinker and I overthink every fucking thing in the world. And then the emotional part of it ties into the mental because I'm overthinking all these things and I'm weighing myself down so much emotionally because I have these expectations of myself. I'm freaking sober. I'm supposed to be able to go nonstop 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to take care of these amazing kids that I gave birth to. Like, how am I supposed to do that if I'm not physically capable of doing that? And if I'm not mentally capable of doing that? And I'm not emotionally capable of doing that because I keep putting myself down for not being there with them. So, dealing with all that emotional, mental, and physical baggage comes into play. So every day I wake up, I have to remind myself that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It sounds lame. It is fucking lame. It's like the lamest thing I've ever heard in my life, but it's true. Every day we wake up, we are where we're meant to be. If that means we are dealing with self-shame, guilt, remorse, pity, putting ourselves down, we're supposed to be in that moment because we're going to learn something from that moment. Whether it's, hey, you got to stop putting yourself down because, we're human. Or how to be kind to yourself. Combat that negative self-talk with positive reinforcement. Instead of, I'm such a shitty mom for being a different country, taking care of myself. How about, I'm an amazing mom because I'm taking care of myself so that I can be there for my kids for the rest of their lives. So emotional baggage when it comes to parenting is very, very real. It's very, very hard. And it's a lot. So my suggestion to all of you is if you are putting yourself down for being a crappy mom, whether it's from the times that you were drinking, which I wasn't a great mom when I was drinking. I would count down throughout the day until they would be near enough bedtime so that I could hurry up and read them a story. Sometimes, not always. So that I could drink while reading them that story so that they could go to sleep, even if it was 7 p.m. and barely dark outside, so that I could get my drink on. Yeah, shitty mom. But I'm not that person today. And even if I'm taking time for myself, doesn't mean I'm a shitty mom. It just means I'm trying to do the best I can so that I can be good for them. Sleep, self-care. We need those things in order to not snap at the people around us, in order to be kind, loving, considerate, and a good person in general. If we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else. Now let's talk about stress. Because we all know being a parent, being a mom, being a dad, that's a nonstop battle, and it's something that we have to learn to live with every day, and how to not stay in that negativity of putting ourselves down. But stress is also comes with parenting, comes with being married, it comes with relationships, it comes with life, work, jobs, even walking outside can be stressful at times. So how do you deal with the day-to-day stress of emotional baggage? You go outside, somebody looks at you funny, and you right away go, oh, do I look bad? What are they thinking about me? Why are they thinking that about me? What's wrong with me? At least that's how my head works. And as always, this is only my point of view. And I refer back to the fact that I'm an overthinker, so I overthink everything, including looks. So right away, I walk outside and I'm putting the stress on myself to meet these expectations of people I do not know, do not really care about, yet I feel like I should because they looked at me. So that's stressful. And then if I go to work and I'm talking to people and interacting with people, that's a lot of stress because now I have to combat other people's emotions with my own emotions, and I have to figure out how to not take it all so freaking personally. That's a lot of work. And then relationships. Relationships are hard. They're not easy. I got sober and I was married, and being married and getting sober is hard because you're changing the dynamic of the marriage. You're going from being this drunkard or this drug addict or this person who uses drinks or drugs recreationally or maybe too much, and you're taking that away, so now you're just a sober person. And at first you're probably really emotional because you have all these feelings coming back from the past. And you may overreact to everything, and you may feel so much. And now you have to deal with other person too, and they remember you at your worst, and they remember the embarrassing things that you've maybe done and the things that you wish you could change and the wish you didn't do. Like, you have to deal with all these facets of life, especially in a relationship, especially with somebody who has seen you at every moment. And they may not forget, and they may not forgive, and they may bring it up a lot because they're human and they have emotions too. So stress with work, with relationships, it's hard. Referring back, emotional baggage, mental baggage, and physical baggage. If emotionally we're feeling stressed and we're feeling down, it's going to weigh on our shoulders. When I first got sober, I used to have the most tense neck. Actually, I still do sometimes. And it's because I take all those emotions and that mental baggage and I push it down on my body to the point where instead of sitting up straight, I'm leaning forward and I'm slouching. And I am just like walking around like I have a bag of bricks on my back, because metaphorically I do. Physically I don't. But in my mind, because I have so much stress that I'm putting myself down from, I do. So when I deal with stressful situations and dealing with other people, if it's in a job or strangers on the street or just interacting with PTA moms or other people in the world, I have to remember a few things. First of all, what they think about me isn't my business. It's very easy to say and it's very hard to actually feel. What they say about me also isn't my business. Yeah, I repeated the same thing again because it's taking me 3 some years and I'm still working on it every single day because it doesn't automatically click. And some days you can practice that and it'll make so much sense and you'll believe it to the core of your body, and what people think and say won't matter to you. But then there'll be days when you're just so fatigued that every weird look, every side glance, every whisper will feel like it's directed at you. So those are the days that you really have to remind yourself that you're beautiful, you're kind, you're caring, you're worthy. What they say doesn't matter. What they feel about you doesn't matter. You are your own person. And you know what? You're doing the best that you can do. And if you're stressed out, if they're saying stuff that upsets you, take that moment for yourself. One of my greatest tools in sobriety has been to color. I'm not 5, I'm not 10 years old, but I love to color. Coloring is that natural release of tension. If you're really angry, you can push down really, really hard on the paper. And if you're really happy, you can do it like perfect. And sometimes you just want to freaking scribble, because scribbling sometimes just relieves that tension. Or working out. Working out is a great endorphin booster. Punching something, kicking something, running, jogging, walking. It's just about getting movement, releasing that stress and that tension in some other form other than picking up a drink or picking up a drug or picking up sugar. Because we are worthy to be sober for. We don't have to take the weight of the world onto our shoulders. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to be healthy. All right, and the big one, relationships. Now, I don't have much experience with like jobs and working outside of the home because I have predominantly been a stay-at-home mom. But relationships I have some experience with. And this is just my experience and my point of view. for anyone watching, my point of view, nobody else's. So this is just the thoughts that come in my head, and I need to reiterate that. This is my point of view, nobody else's. And this is just how I have felt at various points in my life. And I may or may not be feeling like that right now, but relationships are stressful. Being in a marriage and getting sober was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Dealing with the fallout of my actions and the repercussions of my actions was stressful, and emotionally it was horrible. The first few days, I felt like I was a zombie. And I've said this in my podcast, I've said it in other podcasts, I've said it so many places. I felt like a zombie because I was slowly waking up to the fact that I had royally screwed up my life. I had hurt someone that I was supposed to have loved and cared about. I had caused pain for especially my son, who was old enough to have seen me drunk and passed out and act like a fool. He was 7. And thankfully my daughter was only 2, so she doesn't really have those memories, but I wish she didn't have any memories at all. So when I started coming out of that zombie fog and came to the realization that I'm gonna have to actually work on the shit, work on the destruction that I've created, it was scary. It was terrifying. At first, I thought I was going to be getting divorced, and he wasn't talking to me, and the silent treatment was almost worse than the yelling and the putting down and the belittling. Because I knew what to feel about put downs, and I knew how to feel about somebody making me feel like shit, because I always made myself feel like garbage. But I didn't, and I still hate silent treatments, because when somebody goes quiet and they stop talking to you, it makes you feel so alone in the world. Here I was, 3 days sober, 1 day sober, 2 days sober, and I was alone. Thankfully, I wasn't completely alone. I had this amazing friend in Australia who would talk to me at all hours of the night, and she was amazing, and I got to meet her in person last year. Not bragging, totally bragging. And she's one of those people that I love with all my heart, because she's always been here for me. And I have other friends that continue to be there for me during silent treatment times and whatnot. But the silent treatment was worse. So not only was I getting sober and dealing with the fact that I have all these feelings and emotions, I was having these periods of silent treatment that once he started talking to me again and we were staying together, he started talking. But then I would do something that would remind him of my drunken behavior, whether it was forgetting something or making a crappy dinner or saying something. And it would trigger that memory for him of me drunk, and then he would get angry or he would stop talking to me. And again, I reiterate, this is just how I feel. Maybe he remembers it differently, maybe he sees it differently, and that's fine. Part of me getting sober is acknowledging my part and acknowledging my feelings. And this is hard as a woman who's recovering from drinking, because I used to tell myself that my feelings they didn't mean anything. And I used to tell myself that the way I feel was pointless. So to acknowledge my feelings is huge. And I encourage everybody to do it. So a few months into sobriety, we were fine as can be. And we were having these issues of him bringing up my past behaviors of drinking. And all I wanted to do was forget. We get sober and we have this baggage of all these mistakes and all this shame and guilt, and we can't handle it all at once. It's a lot. Like, I can't expect myself to jump into sobriety and be like, okay, I did this on this day, this on that day, this on that day, this on that day. I was drunk, I was blacked out, I was in a brownout. I think I lost this, I think I lost that. I can't recall what I did. You say I did it, you have videos of me doing it. I can't expect myself to deal with all that shit. I have to focus on, first of all, getting healthy at first. And then eventually I can start dealing with the baggage. But while I'm dealing with the baggage, I have to also deal with the new baggage I'm creating by not dealing with the old baggage. So now I have these two like forces of baggage combining to the point where sometimes it felt so overwhelming. And it felt like life was never going to be bearable. There were points when I just wanted to give up on everything, especially the relationship, because I felt like I would have a few months of doing great or a few weeks of doing great and working on myself and doing the next right thing. And I would be improving myself, and I was sober, and I was 90 days sober and 180 days sober. And yet, in the back of my mind, I always felt I wasn't doing good enough, because I would say something and it would upset my spouse, and then it would be right back to as if I was drinking. The guilt, the shame, the remorse, well, you used to do this shit when you were drunk, so how do I know you're not drinking? Or, oh, see, you're not changing, you're still doing the same behaviors over and over again. What people don't realize, when we get sober, our mind doesn't just change immediately. We don't just become this beautiful, amazing person in the world. We have to work on ourselves. We have to change the way we react to everything. I still have behaviors and things and ways I react to certain situations that I did when I was drinking, that I did when I was 16, because that is what I taught. These are my defense mechanisms. To change defense mechanisms takes a lot of time, because when I am in a situation where I feel defensive, scared, a lot of scared, or angry, I'm going to react. And for me not to react, it's so hard. Even today, it's so hard. Even knowing that I should not react, I should take that moment to breathe, I still react a lot of the time, because I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm not a robot. I can't just reprogram my brain. So when he was saying that I was acting the same way as if I was drunk, yes, because I'm human. We have to, every time we use a defense mechanism that we used to use when we were drunk or drinking or using drugs or using our addiction, we have to remind ourselves, hey, I don't do that anymore. And we have to actively work to change it. But bottom line is, we can't let our past continue putting weight on our shoulders. When we're in this relationship, whether it's new or old, and especially old, and they keep bringing back those behaviors that you did when you were drinking, just remember, just because they feel like you're that same person doesn't mean that you are. Only you can dictate who you are. Only you can deal with the emotional baggage, the mental baggage, the physical baggage. Only you can take care of yourself. So if that person is being toxic and they're putting you down, or if that person is claiming that you're this way, all you can do is show that you're not. One of my greatest tools in sobriety has always been to prove to everyone around me that they're wrong about me. Nobody thought I could get sober. Nobody thought I could stay sober. To this day, people still question if I'm sober at times, especially with going through divorce, being in India, posting on my Facebook like all happy pictures and stuff. They still question me if I'm drinking, because they don't want to believe that I can be happy, that I can go through these things without alcohol, that I can show this facade or facade even if I'm not feeling 100% on the inside. Because I have to fake it sometimes until I make it. And I have to do things even if I don't want to do them. And you know what? For every person who says that we can't do it, every single day that we do it, it's like the best freaking feeling in the world. So don't give up. And that emotional baggage, it weighs heavy. And some days it's heavier than other days. But telling yourself a few things that you're grateful for, telling yourself a few things that you're worthy of, telling yourself some positive attributes that you believe to your core, it all starts there. Every day I tell myself one thing that I'm happy about with myself, whether it's something I've accomplished, something I'm doing, And every day I tell myself 3 things I'm grateful for. And every day I tell myself 3 things I'm worthy of. Because when I was drinking, I didn't think I was worthy of anything. I wasn't grateful for anything, and I hated myself. So as long as I'm working actively to show positive change and positive reinforcement, I'm changing. Even if others can't see it, I can feel it. And bottom line, as long as I'm putting that oxygen mask on myself and continue doing that, I can be there for everybody else around me. So thanks for listening, guys.